Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. How are y'all today?
That's
Everyone has a coffee in hand and or tea.
Thumbs up if you
Or,
do.
you know, hey, it's Saturday, so you might be like, it's brunch time or your mimosa, whatever. You know, we're not judging. We're not judging. I'm Jade.
And I'm Wilnona. And quite honestly, now, Jade, you said mimosa.
I know. And now you want one, right? But we
I
can't
want
have
a
one. We're teaching the
mimosa.
class. We're teaching the class. We can't have a mimosa. We can't have that.
So after, right?
So after, right.
Yeah. Okay.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was happening.
Okay.
Okay. So what we're going to do, today we're going to talk about making your writing career and how we want that writing career to go.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to go through a few things that you probably already
And you're
know.
going to be like, why are they repeating things that I already know? Because
just in case somebody else here doesn't know it.
doesn't know, right?
Or also because maybe you haven't thought about how it actually goes into your overall career. So that's why we're going to do this. So it's more of an overview kind of class. So let's start by sharing the screen.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, we found it. We found it, y'all.
All right. So let's make our writing career. I honestly hate when we have to do PowerPoints, but otherwise we would remember the entire thing.
We wouldn't. We would be like, there was something else we wanted to put there, but we forgot. Wow, what is going on with my one piece of hair that just wants to like stick out anyway? Doesn't matter. So
when you start writing, you often have the dream mostly to tell your story.
Right.
And most people, that's what they want to do when they want to read. And then there's some people out here when we dream about writing, let's admit it, when we daydream about writing a book and what all the things that
dream
could happen.
because you could be sleeping and dreaming it, right?
That's true.
You could be like, my book will equal a film, you know, a really nice car, like the Bentley that we have there, a big house, and speaking engagements, right? That's a lot of us. That's our goal, right? We want to write a book that people like. That, I mean, yes, you don't necessarily want to make all the money in the world, but you probably want to make some money.
Some money. Yeah. You like to be like, I'm a full-time writer. That's what I do with my life.
That's my job. That's my job.
A lot of times this is what actually ends up happening, especially if we do self-publishing. You end up spending a lot of money. You get a small niche readership and you invest so much time into writing. This is why a lot of time people go, oh, I want to be a writer like you. And I want to go on tours and do this and do that. And I'm like, oh, you know how much time you have to invest?
Hence why the calendar by the months, because yes, that's how much time
it's years
you invest. All right.
But what we're trying to do today, we're not trying to be like, ooh, we have this perfect system that's going to make you a best-selling author.
Bestseller. No.
Or that's going to get you rich from your book. We do not have that. And if you were hoping for that, I love the sad face with the thumbs down, because this is not a get rich quick scheme.
This is not one of those. It is absolutely how to get you somewhere in the middle, right? To tell you about the pitfalls and the positive things that you can do. And it's not only us. We brought some of our wonderful people that we've had on our podcast and we brought them back, so we're going to show a couple of videos from them. Yes, we interviewed them for y'all, so you can have some really good questions and answers from them.
So part of it is like how we did it, and then part of it is how they did it. So why should you listen to us in the first place? These are pictures, so I'm going to run through them and explain them really quickly because, hey, I didn't put subheadings. So no, we are not the special people who are at the top with the Bentley. No, we don't have it.
We don't have
nor the large house. We don't have that either.
No,
or piles of cash. But we are somewhere in the middle. So these are a few of our accomplishments. Jade's going to hate me when I start this one off. We are the 18th most interviewed author in the world we're getting close to 900 interviews in 4 years. We did some very interesting things with our books. We turned them into, one of the things is closed there. We have the 25 Hottest magazine. We have 17 books under our belt. And my favorite one, which is probably the most braggadocious picture there on the end.
I saw it on the end there. Didn't escape my notice that we did get to be the U.S. correspondents for the Chrissy B show that is in London.
Yeah.
So also we brought along, as I said before, some experts to explain the hard parts. Right. So writing.
We're going to start off with the overview of writing a book, because that's really what we need to do before we can even think about any of the money, the cars, the anything, or having people read things or interviews. You need to write that book. Let's start with the first page. So every book starts with an idea and a blinking cursor on an empty page.
Or, a pen and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Either way you do it.
Either way, that's daunting because it's empty and your job is to fill it
And not just that one, but the several hundred pages
after it. So in the beginning, you need to decide if you're going to be
a pantser or a plotter, right? Because there are some people that just kind of like free write it, kind of know what's going on with their, with the plot points, and they write the story quickly and they make more mistakes, but it's normally just a really character-driven story. Or a plotter is a person that structures the story. Like they're like, okay, so by page 45, I need to be here in my mystery novel, and by page 90, I need to be here, and then by the end, I'm definitely going to be here. And they have less plot holes, right? And
it means that a lot of times when their characters take them off on a side road, they don't really have the space to maneuver to go on that side road. So like a lot of times with a pantser, you'll hear someone say, oh, my character started talking to me. And then when I ended up, it turns out he had a brother, and that brother had died in a car accident, and that car accident happened this way. Whereas a plotter, they've normally plotted out each plot point. We are going to go through a little bit more about why this would be true.
Not saying any of those are wrong.
Oh,
we know several
people
that are either pantsers or plotters and New York Times bestsellers.
So your first page, this is something that we can teach more in depth. We actually have an entire workshop on that, but we're just going to run through this the way that we would quickly. So when you have your first page, normally what I would suggest you to do is write your story idea. And what's in quotations right there is how I wrote my last story, which was a romance story. Wow, that was a hard story to write.
It's a women's fiction.
I love that you always correct me on that. So an ex-wife has to work for her former husband to save her business. I didn't put the save the business part on it. Let's just stick with the pitch right here. The pitch line that I would give to literary agent. An ex-wife has to work for her former husband. And then I named the main character. Her name is Mahaley Prescott. And then what is that main character going to be doing when we're doing the opening scene? And yes, I did a major faux pas and said getting ready for work. No, she's not waking up.
But she's getting ready.
But she's getting ready for work. I did make it interesting because it's an inner battle.
Okay,
and
so
then how does their character react to the situation that they find themselves in? So that inner battle would be how they did that. Jade, go ahead.
Two, we're gonna do setting. So this starts off in her bedroom. You can start it off wherever you want to, right? It can be in a dog alley. It can be at a club. They can be like on the golf course drinking water. Whatever you want to do. It's up to you. It's your story. All right. And then what time of day is it? Is it morning? Well, it's morning for our character, but is it morning for your character? Is it late afternoon? Are we at happy hour? Are we going for drinks?
Happy hour. Yeah, that sounds like a good place to start my next one.
Right, happy hour, right? Why not? I mean, are we out eating, or what are we doing? Are we on a spaceship and we're changing the guards? What are we doing? All right. And then what's the tone of the setting? Is it dark? Is it seedy? Is it sunny, whimsical, or grassy knoll, or somewhere in between, or a spaceship, right? I'm just gonna keep saying that because I'm trying. I love sci-fi, so I can't write it, but I love to read it. So anybody, just please write me a sci-fi. And how does your character feel about the setting? Are they feeling anxious? Are they feeling like this is gonna be the best day ever because it's sunny and I'm on a grassy knoll? Do they feel a thing of doom?
Lastly, what we would do is like the characters. First of all, what does the character look like? Who is the character going to interact with? And then we do the same thing, all this first 3 steps over and over again. I just recognized I wrote 4 instead of 3 because there was a third step. There's actually a third step in between, but we combine them together. So, okay. So then so how the character is going to interact with that scene. So you do the exact same thing for the second character that you would have on your first page. Now, when you're done, you take the paragraph or 2 that you've written for number 1, this paragraph or 2 you've written for number 2, and the paragraph you've written for number 3, along with some dialogue, snip them apart and then move them around until you come up with how you would like to start your first page. So your first page could start with how your character looks and feels about and interacting with another person, or it could start with the description of the setting or the description of the
dialogue.
Or with dialogue. We try not to do that.
We try not to.
So now that we have our first page, let's talk about our chapters, because chapters make books. So let's do our chapter checklist. This is just quickly what we need to think about when we're doing a chapter. Will this chapter entice the reader to read more? So when you end your first chapter, does that reader want to read your second chapter?
Right.
And then when you finish your second chapter, you have to do the same thing. Is the chapter moving the story forward? If it's just a long thing of description, it did not move the story forward.
And your editor is probably going to tell you.
And they're going to chop it anyway. So let's just chop it ourselves.
It feels better when you do it yourself, right? And not let the editor do it.
And then what key elements does the reader learn? Because in each chapter, the reader should be engaged in the way that they learn something. And then there's too much backstory, which I just said before, if you have too much description or it's just a long exposition on like what they did in the past and it's not moving the story forward, well, then we need to chop that.
Yes, and we're going to actually have editor talk a little bit more about that later on in the slideshow about how you can chop it.
The book outline is the overall story arc. So we want to do our overall story, our idea and how we want to beginning, middle, and end it. Here is where the subplots are. So you would put your A's would be your subplots. And then you would develop the subplots. That's pretty much subplots to your subplots. And then how your character reacts to each of the situations.
You're making an outline, y'all.
So we're making an overall outline of our book for those of us who are plotters. I'm just giving you an overall view of it.
No, you don't have to absolutely use this. I mean, it's up to you. You are doing the plotting, so it's up to you, but this is just an example of something that you could use or some elements that you could use.
All right, we're almost done the writing part. We're going to start getting to the fun part of publishing. So then how each character grows due to each plot twist that you've put in, and then finally we will conclude our story. That is a book outline.
Or leave the cliffhanger, because if you're doing a series, you want to leave a cliffhanger, this is when you will do it.
So now we're moving on to publishing.
Right.
What everyone wants to know about. So
right? You don't really want to know about the writing part. You're like, I'm a writer. That's what I do for a living.
Yes. So the publishing, I just wanted to define publishing here, the occupation of business or activity of preparing and issuing books, journals, and other materials for sale. That is actually the Webster Dictionary. All righty. Ooh, you have chat in the middle of my thing. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. So we have different publishing types. We have self-publishing and traditional publishing, which you both probably know. So self-publishing is putting your book into the world, handling all your things yourself. One of the cons, these are going through some of the cons of it. One of the cons is having to multitask because you are also the marketer, the publisher, the editor, the graphic designer, but I'm sure you know this. And there is an enormous learning curve.
Especially if you don't know anything, you haven't Googled anything about self-publishing. You're like, this is what I'm going to do. Prepare yourself for a lot of Googling, y'all, and going to the YouTube University, as it is affectionately called.
Jade, would you take traditional?
Yes, traditional publishing. Having the publisher fund all your upfront costs.
That's not a con, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. But you will have lower royalties than you would in self-publishing. And there are a lot of gatekeepers, and there's a certain level of rejection that you are going to face in traditional publishing.
I'm going to add a small little story here. One of our friends is an actor. She said that how did she prepare for being getting all the no's she did for her acting? First of all, she started a writing career. She got so many no's in writing that when people tell her no in acting, she just kind of laughs at it and moved to the next edition.
Right. Or we know this person that literally got 125 no's before she ever got her first yes. That's a lot of rejection. So prepare yourself. But your book is wonderful and it will find out.
Traditional publishing often requires a literary agent as one of the hurdles to get in. A literary agent requires that you make a query letter. This is something you probably already know. One of the ways you can find a literary agent is by going to a conference, networking with them. One of the things that we really like, since we have a podcast, we get to talk to a lot of literary agents.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things you might want to consider later on in marketing. You can send your query letters also to editors who are open for submissions. There are some editors that we know of, like in Kensington and Entangled, that are open to submissions directly to them.
Yes.
So you can skip over the literary agent process. In fact, right now I am under contract and I skipped over the entire thing and just submitted my query letter to the CEO of the publishing company because we knew her. But
the point is
to make your network known. And then you also have small presses and university presses, which are a lot easier to go for. When people tell you that doesn't mean that they're automatically going to say yes. It just means that it's easier to get your query letter into the hands of someone that would read it. So we have an actual Q&A with a literary agent, Sarah Megabo from KT Literary. So first of all, I'm going to let you guys read through this. These are the questions that we asked. Jade, number 1.
What does a literary agent look for in a query letter? Query letters equal agent. They equal that every agent looking for a different type of query letter. And then right here at ktliterary.com, submissions is the type of query letter, is the type of submissions that she's looking for.
Number 2 is what does an agent do for their clients after the book sale? She gave me a list of articles. I'm going to tell you a bit about what they do. So they have to maintain the list. They have to keep those people encouraged. So they're a bit of a book coach. They have to review contracts. They have to advocate for those contracts. And then they have to go back and review and sometimes renegotiate contracts for subsidiary rights, audio rights, movie rights, foreign rights. And then if the person does actually want to get a movie done and Hollywood says yes, then they have to renegotiate with those people and find somebody out there that will represent them in a way that they can know. So they have a lot to do, and most of them carry about 30 clients at minimum. Yeah, so they really do work for their money. All right. So, and what was something else I was going to say, and it just left my head, so it wasn't important. Number 3, what type of work are you looking for? Everyone pay attention to this. Yes, that is what I was going to say. Now, for literary agents, they have a certain connection, certain repertoire with certain editors at publishing houses. So if you had a sci-fi and you queried, and it wasn't like a romance sci-fi, I mean, it was like hardcore Star Trek sci-fi. But you queried a romance writer, that person's just going to have to, a romance literary agent, they're just going to have to turn you down. Not because your story isn't great, not because they don't love it, not because it doesn't flow, because they do not have the contacts to get your thing published. And sometimes maybe they will sign you, but you're probably going to have to wait longer for your deal, because they do not have the editors that they can just call up and say, hey, I have a great book for you. Don't you want to look at it? And the editor will then put it on the top of the book. Yes? Questions? Okay. The editor would then put it on the top of the pot. So if you query a literary agent that doesn't do sci-fi, they're going to be cold calling editors. And you know how well cold calling. So that's the same thing that you were doing to literary agents. And so you know how long that's going to take. Okay, traditional publishing, when you are finally published, after that literary agent and you're finally published, you will then be working with editors. Depending on your publisher, you may have a say in PR and marketing, especially if you have a small press. During that, you will also have to possibly, if you're successful, end up working with your audio rights, movie rights, screenplay adaptation, and merchandising rights. Remember, one of the reasons this is here is because when you do your contract with a traditional publisher, you need to see what those rights are, how much of it you maintain, and how much you are getting paid for it. Because sometimes the publishers will take the entire thing and you'll never see a dime from any of those things. We'll later talk about how merchandising is a bit more important sometimes than the actual book. So, and your book comes out in the minimum of a year. Yeah, sometimes it could be 2 to 5, depending on the catalog and the time and the trends that are running. Self-publishing, this is when you do everything yourself. Yes. So one of the big things is we're going to talk about editors, copy editors, line editors, development editors. Make sure that they have credentials, references, and they're not a scam. One of the things that we know for sure, huge in the indie world, is people will scam you. So make sure that you have the references. Like you would not go out and spend $1,500 on something that you have never heard of anybody buying. Like you're not going to go out and be like, yes, this dishwasher for $1,500, I'm going to buy it, and you don't even know the name of it. No, you would not. You would not do that. You'd be like, I'm going to go ahead on and get me my GE because I know it works, or whatever brand that you were loyal to. So same point. Ask other people. One of the things that we know that actually is a place that you can find good references, and it's inexpensive or it's free, is Indie United Publishing. She specifically made it for this purpose, for you to be able to find references to other people who will do the work and do it well. Yes. So when you're self-publishing, you have to do the book cover yourself, which can be professionally done, Fiverr, or it can be self-done, which you can do in Canva. Or any other person. Or any other person. That you know how to does book design. Formatting for the book, that's also, you can either do it yourself or you can have a professional do it. All righty. So now we're on to an expert. Jennifer?
So we're going to let Jennifer Graybill go ahead and explain a bit about trends and traditional versus self-publishing, and that'll help re-impact these slides that you just saw. Jennifer, would you like to introduce yourself?
There's always a ton of books out, and they're the ones that are going to be able to like cycle through lots of different things very quickly. So you see that the trends, they're moving very fast. One of the things that I'm seeing, especially right now, is a movement towards romantic comedies. And that is something that has been happening the last few months, especially since the pandemic hit. People are looking for comfort and they're looking for light. So what we see there is we see folks going back to the things that they find that are familiar to them, whether that is in terms of trends, or excuse me, tropes, or whether that is in terms of authors, or whether that is in terms of settings that they really enjoy. So if there's somebody that likes small towns, they're going to
Wilnona and Jade, we don't hear the sound.
There's a lot. There's a lot of looking for that comfort and for that.
Okay, now we can.
Okay, sorry about that.
And then the second thing is that if you're thinking about what it is that you want to write, think about the things that bring you.
Can you
comfort,
guys hear sound now?
Whether that, again, that's a setting or a trope, what your favorite things are. And if you find comfort in it, then your readers are going to be able to find comfort in it.
Thank you. Can you also explain a bit about a client who wanted to go traditional versus self-publishing? Can you tell us a bit about why we would want to consider either, or why we wouldn't want to consider either?
Oh, sure. So the decision on what your publishing path is going to be is something that is a very personal choice. And there's a lot of reasons as to why some folks go one way and some folks go another. In the past, traditional was seen as something that was a higher level, if you will. And I don't think that's the case anymore, especially in the romance world. In other genres, we're starting to see more and more people that are self-publishing. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The number one reason that a lot of people decide that they want to self-publish is they recognize that they get a higher percentage of those book sales when the book is published. And that's a huge motivator, absolutely. There's a lot of reasons why someone might still want to go traditional. And traditional publishers will put a certain amount of energy and effort behind that book. So every book is going to go through a similar process, whether you're self-published or indie or traditionally published. So you're going to write the book, then the book needs to be edited. There's marketing decisions that need to be made in terms of the cover, in terms of the title, in terms of the formatting, and then how that book launch happens. And so if you go on the self-published side, all of those decisions are yours to make. And that can be a great thing for an author that is interested in doing all of that work. If those are not your skills, or that is something that doesn't appeal to you, then traditional is definitely going to be the way to go, because what you're looking for is a partner who's going to help you along the way of making a lot of those decisions. Another, if we think about the financial impact of this, when you go traditional, the traditional publisher is going to be the one who pays the editor, who pays the cover designer, who pays for some of that initial launch marketing that needs to happen. When you go self-published, all of that comes out of pocket. So you pay for it up front, and then you make money on the back end. I always tell people that are thinking about which one is better. And the answer is neither one of them is better. It really depends on who you are as a person and who you are as a professional. And then you have to think about the fact that there's going to be 1,000 steps between here and whatever amount of money it is that you're making from that book. There's 1,000 steps between here and there. They are somewhat similar for the self-published and the traditionally published author, but then they diverge, and you're going to walk your path, and you have to do that to the best of your ability.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking time out of your day to talk to us. And lastly, since you are a book editor and a book coach, can you tell people where to find your website in case they need either?
Absolutely. So I'm Jen Graybeal. You can reach me at www.jengraybeal.com or on Instagram at Jen the Editor.
All right. So notes. All right, y'all. So hopefully Jen really helped you out to understand a little bit about the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing and book coaching and all that stuff. And if you didn't get all that stuff, don't worry, because she is actually on our YouTube channel and we put it up so you can go there and watch it over and over again if you like.
So one of the self-publishing, if you're going to do self-publishing, we're going to continue with this a little bit, is self-publishing options, Amazon, KDP, Ingram Spark, Nook, Lulu. There is a long list, but these are ones that we've actually used to publish our own books. All right, hybrid publishing is a little of both worlds. You pay a set cost for buying a package. Yay. But they do everything that a traditional publisher would do. They help you with your marketing. They help you with your PR. They give you, sometimes they'll help you with a website. It depends on what you do. Also in this world is something called vanity press. That's where you pay up front and you just get a book back. Yes. So you can choose what you want to do. So if you don't want to do the traditional where they have all these rights, but you don't want to do the self where you're out there by yourself, hybrid is perfect for you. And we have this expert, Diane Glassman, who will explain, who was actually a literary reader. So a literary agent's reader. Yes. She is a bit long-winded, so I might be jumping around in her interview.
But y'all, you can always listen to the whole interview on our YouTube.
Very long-winded.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. So we have just discussed a few things about literary agent, traditional publishing, self-publishing, and now we're coming up to the point of talking about a bit more about editors. And also when we talked about traditional publishing, we mentioned literary agents. So we're going to have Diane Glassman, who is an editor and was formerly a reader for a literary agent. Would you like to tell her to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. Diane, can you introduce yourself?
So I'm Diane Glassman. I am both a writer and I am also a book editor. I'm a developmental book editor. My background also includes that for 2.5 years, I worked for a literary agent and I was her submissions reader and her editor for some of the manuscripts that she was working on. So I've looked at over 1,200 query letters, first 50 pages and synopses while I was working for her, and I, edited several manuscripts as well. So, and then for the past 5 years, in addition to my own writing, I have been working as a developmental editor on other people's books.
Wow, that's very interesting. Like and you said that you were a developmental editor. So what type of editors are there out there?
Other than developmental, of course.
And what?
So there are three main types. There's a developmental editor who works on structural issues mainly. So that's like the big picture stuff is, we look at the narrative arc, we look at the character arc, we look at how the various elements of the novel fit together and how best to get them working to create a cohesive novel effect. And then there are line editors who deal with language. So after you've got your structure put together, these are the people who will go through and really fine tune your language so that, and it's not just like proofreading and looking at grammatical errors. It's really kind of getting down and looking at a sentence by sentence level of how your sentences function together and where they're flowing well and when they're not, and when something in the structure of the sentence is actually impacting either the clarity or the way in which the narrative flows. And then you have copy editors who are the ones who are kind of looking more stylistically. Those are the ones that's kind of like copy editors. They aren't proofreaders, but they kind of function as kind of like a super level proofreading because they are looking at grammatical errors, they're looking for spelling errors, they're looking for typos, but they're also looking to make sure that the work is stylistically consistent and correct.
Thank you so much for the answers. My next question is about your work as a reader for a literary agent, a submission reader for a literary agent. I'm sure you've read thousands of manuscripts, and what key areas did you find that are often in manuscripts that make it an unattractive to an agent? Oh my word.
Unattractive or attractive?
Yeah.
First and foremost, when you're querying an agent, make sure that you are querying with the kind of thing that they represent. One really heartbreaking example of not quite getting it right was this one manuscript that came in that when I was reading for the literary agent, and it was wonderful. It was an amazing book. The first 50 pages were great. I recommended that that the agent request the full, and I'm reading through the full, and about 100 pages in, it became very clear that while the writer had said it was a mystery, it actually was a thriller. The agent that I was reading for didn't represent thrillers. Fantastic book, but wrong agent. She doesn't, and the reason it's the wrong agent is because agents know specific editors. They represent books within specific genres, and even within genres, like even, like the agent that I worked with, she specialized in cozy mysteries. So even though she represented mysteries, what she really loved and where she had the bulk of her contacts were within editors who acquired cozy mysteries.
Quickly, just give us 2 examples of what were perfect opening pages, and then just as fast as you can, why? I know one of the pages that you love, and I love when you explain it. Yes.
The Hunger Games.
Yes.
Yeah, the Hunger Games is a masterclass in an opening. I mean, in the first 500 words, you get an understanding of who Katniss is. You get an understanding of things that are relevant to her in the story. And Collins has this detail that Katniss's sister brought home a cat when it was a kitten, and Katniss tried to drown it because it was one extra mouth too many in order to be able to support. And that's the detail. But the understanding of what that detail means is this family is so poor that they don't even have enough extra food to feed a cat. And you can see the Katniss, the way her brain works, the logic, and the fact that emotion is a luxury that she can't afford. And I kind of looked coming at the end, down to the end of 2019, and I was like, the romance novel is really fun, and I really want to finish something. I want to finish a novel. And so I started working more on the romance novel, and then realized, hey, I've actually got a pretty good book here. And so I started looking, and I was like, well, I can put it up on Amazon. And then I started to investigate self-publishing and found some tremendous resources. And I was like, okay, I can do this. This is actually really interesting to me. And what I started seeing about it was also the fact that things like gay romance, and my second book was in March.
All right. All right. So now we've done a quick overview from Diane Glassman about a bit about traditional publishing, why she chose self-publishing when she was looking at her romance book instead of she was a literary writer and she chose self-publishing. She's still a literary writer. She's going to a residency in Alaska soon.
Yes. But also why it's important to know the literary agent that you're querying. Because remember how she talks about it was a wonderful book and there was nothing wrong with that person's book, but the agent that she was working for could not represent it because they had no contact. So make sure when you're querying agents that you are querying the ones that are actually for your genre. So if you are writing a thriller, please do not be like, oh, I'm gonna get this agent that's a cozy mystery writer. It's not gonna help you. A cozy mystery agent. It's not gonna help you at all.
And lastly, how important those first 500 words are on your first page. When you go back to review this, when you look at your slide, make sure when you choose those first 500 words after you moved everything around that they are almost perfection.
And they're impactful. Like you want to draw the person in. You want to be like, what in the world? I cannot not read it, because we've all been in a bookstore where we cracked it open and we were like, okay. And we made that decision a lot of times on that first page. If I don't want to turn to the second page, then I'm probably not going to buy the book.
So now we're moving on to marketing, which is how you introduce your book to the public. Right. So now if you chose traditional publishing and you were one of the very fortunate people who actually ended up being traditionally published.
Yay! Congratulations.
First of all, yeah, definitely. And then secondly, you don't have much to do.
Or you do.
But you do. I mean, they're going to give you a bit of a marketing plan. They're going to give you some things, some suggestions. And before the book comes out, there's enough that mostly what you're doing is self-published, social media sort of things. So that way you can keep everyone up like, hey, my book is coming out. Hey, I'm building a platform, that sort of thing. And then you're going to work with your marketer, well, you'll work with your publisher on a plan. If they don't give you a plan, or if they don't have the funds to do so, or if they're like, it's not an A1 book, well, then you might want to pay attention to this as if you were self-published. So self-published with marketing. Before your book comes out, we're talking about pre-orders. You're going to want to think about contests, advertising in magazines. And yes, I did say advertising in magazines before your book comes out, because where you sell on the first day does have a lot to do with where your book goes in the algorithm on Amazon and other places. People have done billboards, and one of my favorites, podcast.
Of course, because we have one.
Because we have like 4.
Of course, podcast is one of our favorite ones. And then you can do Amazon ads, Google ads, Facebook ads.
Once again, that is a whole separate section on algorithms all by itself.
Yes.
So Jade is going to take over from here, and she's going to tell you 3 wonderful stories of how we found out that, first she's going to explain what a warm market is, and how we found 3 wonderful stories about how we found out how to sell more books.
Right. So your warm market, right? Your friends, your family, the people that you know, right? People that you know, and you're like, hey, I can count on you to buy a book. And they're like, of course.
You can count me to buy 2.
I'm going to buy 2 because I want to support you. That's your warm market, right? But we need to talk about being beyond our warm market, right? And we already have a warmish market. But you might not know. Well, maybe not so much in COVID, right? Because, we're kind of staying away from people. But think about it. If you go to the store every Saturday and you've been checked out by the same cashier for the last year, 5 years, 10 years, don't you kind of know that cashier? Haven't you said hello to her every Saturday, or him, every Saturday? Yes, you have. And if you say to them, hey, I actually read a book. And then we did that. And our cashier was like, excuse me, what? You write a book? Well, can I have the book? And I'm like, oh, of course. It's like, I'll buy you a book. I was like, nah, girl, let me give you this book. I gave them the book. What happened? I came back to the store, next Saturday, because I still need to eat. And I'm shopping. And all of a sudden, people that are stocking the shelves stopped me. I loved your book. You loved my what? My book? Your book, yeah, because she gave it to Jen, and then she gave it to me, and then I gave it to somebody else. And literally, like in a month, like the whole store was like talking to me about my book.
And then they bought the second book.
Because they were like, because I liked your first book. All right. So you know how you're like ordering your books, if you're self-published, or you're just regular published, and you're getting your books in those huge packages, and you're just coming to your house regularly. You're so excited. So one day our post person said, yeah, you keep getting these large, what's in the boxes? Oh, we wrote a book. They were like, you want a what now? A book. Oh, I like to buy a book. Oh, you can have it. All right, so I went into my local post office to like mail off some books. And they're like, are you mailing off books? Because I read your book and it was great. I put a review up on Amazon for it.
And then most of the people in the post office and their family, they bought the book.
Right.
And then lastly, my favorite one. Do you mind if I tell that one?
Of course, because you love it. Listen, you love it.
So we travel about 26 weeks out of the year on
Not
tour.
COVID.
Before COVID. And so we would always end up at a hotel, and at the hotel there's a bar. And so we would end up talking to the bartender, and the bartender would be like, oh, we wrote a book. You're in town because you wrote a book. Wow, do you have a book? And you show the bartender the book. And then later on in the evening, as the bar gets full, the bartender's talking to everyone, and then they turn and they're like, hey, by the way, those people are in town because they wrote a book.
And then people go, give a book. Well, what's the book? Can I buy the book? And then
we show them the book. And then actually we had actually this happens so often. We bring extra books. We bring a purse full of books, and we end up selling those books at the bar. And then sometimes we actually average around 200 and some books per every other week. Yeah. With the books that we sell online, when we run out of the ones we have on hand, we just start like go to the page, buy the book, and they do that. All right, marketing. Also, you can start with your author platform. It's been a minute now since I've been talking. I'm getting a little dry here.
So your author platform, what is it, right? So hosting, podcasts. You can do Clubhouse. You can do vlogging. You can do blogging. You can please have an author website.
Oh my goodness.
Please.
Yes. Don't use Facebook as your landing page.
No, please have a website. Please have a website. because when I Google you, I'm going to a Facebook page. I mean, that's nice, but where's the website? I want to see a website.
It gives you a form of legitimacy. It gives you a place, a springboard for your brand. It gives you a place to start doing the email list. It gives you a place to keep track of how many visitors are there in case you need to use any of that to leverage it for something else later. Even if I've used it to leverage, because I had a 3-book contract and I didn't like my contract. So I used that same information from my Facebook webpage to leverage for my contract to change.
Right, for my website. Or if you want to start selling ads or whatever on your website, you can, because you have one and you have how many people visit a month or a week or a day.
All right, let's go to my favorite subject, PR, because, you know, over almost close to 900 interviews in 4 years. And yeah, I did write those pitch letters for the first 125. You can write a query letter. And if you can write a query letter, you know what you can write? A pitch letter for television. So you can, remember, you need the hook. You need to see how the book matches societal problems. So we have a book of actual poetry, and I thought divorce was bad.
Y'all, because we're poets, just in case you didn't know. Yeah. We're poets.
And we use the first 2 poems to match it to society, because we talk about emotional abuse. So then we use that, and we also started advocating for emotional abuse. And then we used it for the Inspirational Women in Literature, Media, and Journalism Awards. This got us many television shows, not because, I don't want to say you're doing this specifically for the purpose of TV.
No.
But we did it because this was something that needed to be addressed. But as a side effect, we did get many television interviews. So we can look for special days. One of my favorite days that we look for is Red Wine Day, because we have a cocktail book. Yes. That is also a poetry book. And so for each day that there's a bourbon day or wine day or something day, a hot dog day, hamburger day, because we have a recipe book that's also a poetry book, we can then go and ask we can go ask bloggers, vloggers, podcasters, all of them, if we can be on them. So what we're saying right here is, don't make your book just about your book. Like, oh, my writing process. No, your book has to be about something that's in society if you want to get to bigger people.
Absolutely. Okay. Like, for instance, if you are doing a cozy mystery, but in your cozy mystery, you have this wonderful recipe for peach cobbler. Absolutely use that to get on different things. Like, hey, this is my mom's or my recipe, tried and true recipe for peach cobbler. Now you can use that, right? You can use it to get on baking shows and lifestyle shows, and you can talk about the peach cobbler that also the recipe happens to be in your book.
So also, if you wrote a book and you wrote a book about a certain subject in fiction, because we have to do so much research to make it right, you are now an expert in that. For instance, there was a person who wrote a book simply about, I'm gonna pull someone that everyone knows, Tom Clancy. He wrote a book, his first book, and then after that, the Naval Academy actually hired him to help with strategy, because he is an expert from his research. And then that is one of the ways that he made a second source of income.
Absolutely.
And then we need to develop and maintain those relationships that we did for PR. What PR does for you, it allows you to share your books with others, and it also gives you leverage to pitch other TV stations. Mentioning, if you have a local interview, then you can then use it to pitch a larger market, and then you can use that larger market to pitch national.
Yes. So those interviews, those blogs, those vlogs, all of that is key to do that.
All right. Book expert.
Now we have someone who's gonna talk about what's going on.
Hello, everyone. We have now just discussed marketing, the very little bit about marketing that we did, and a bit about public relations, about the 2 or 3 slides about public relations. And now we're going to talk to someone who is actually does a good job with book PR, and then she has her own shows. So we're going to ask her a few questions. And before we do asking the question part, that's what she does.
Hey guys, I am Angela Anderson of Angela Anderson Presents All Things Literary, and I have an amazing time with authors. I do a little bit of editing, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of hosting and moderating, all those things. But one of the things that I really, really enjoy is being able to help authors market and promote their books.
Wonderful. So Angela, my first question to you is, how has starting your shows, because you have multiple ones, changed your career and literary brand?
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for asking that. It really has, I guess, broadened the horizon with it. Is also being able to reach more individuals internationally, as well as, here in the States, as well as the author reach. Before, when things were in person, and I would do in-person events and things of that nature. But now that I have, I
want to know as authors, how is it going to benefit us? So why would an author want to be on your show? What are the benefits of that?
Awesome. I'm so glad you asked that as well. First of all, if I can answer it this way, one thing about my show is that whenever a person is on the show, and for you guys that do not know, I have two shows. One is Angela's Literary Cafe, which is a 30-minute author interview show where authors get to showcase their new release or their latest release. And it's in an interview form or what have you. They get to read a little snippet of their book as well. And then, of course, they get to share with the world how the individuals can purchase their books. And I have had numerous clients, authors are introduced to new readers or individuals that may not know about them, and they go and buy their book, and not only buy their book, but now the author have a new set of readers that follow them. But I also let those individuals know that when they come on my show, I want them to be themselves. I want them to have fun and just, engage with the readers or what have you. The other show that I have is Angela's Literary Tea. I love having tea time, but it's an hour-long live book discussion. And the cool thing about it is that I also invite other avid readers, book reviewers, bloggers, influencers to come join us for tea and talk with their favorite author and discuss the book. First of all, when you get to meet one of your favorite authors, how cool is that, whether it's in person or virtually? So that's
important for all of us right now is, where can we find out more about you, your shows, and your services?
Absolutely. They can definitely go to my website, which is Anderson Marketing. I always do that. Anderson Marketing 01 is my email address at Gmail, but my website is Anderson. I do it every time. Angela Anderson Presents. I can always do that. Angela Anderson Presents is my website. You can follow me on social media at Angela Anderson Presents, as on Instagram and on Facebook. And then if they want.
Okay. So far now we have written our first page, we have written our book, we have marketed we've got to publish or self-publish, and now we have tradition, and now we have marketed and done a little bit of PR.
And Angela, if you follow her, you can fill out the contact us form for her, and you can be on her show, talk about your book.
Exactly. So now we're going on to the goals, which has a lot more to do with the first part that we showed you about, hey, I want that car. So a lot of people, while we're reviewing the goals, they write a book to tell their story for extra income. And no, I don't expect you to get them $100 bills, more like them 20s over there. maybe. Yeah. And then a little bit, some people like to do it to become a more known author as well. These are only 3 things. There are so many reasons people write a book. It's insane.
Yes.
So let's talk about the writing goal that everybody wants, which is the New York Times bestseller. Jade.
Okay, so the New York Times bestseller, you have to sell at least 5,000 to 10,000 copies of your book in 1 week, but these sales have to be diverse.
So they cannot be in one spot. They cannot be in one city. They cannot be in one bookstore. They cannot be done just by you. They try to make sure that this is as legit as possible by making sure that they're diverse over all categories, all locations. This is harder to do now due to the way that the categories are set up. And one of the really interesting things, you have to make sure that your retailer, when you're, first of all, you have to be traditionally published. When you're traditionally published, when the publisher sends it to the bookstore, that bookstore has to be registered with the New York Times to say what they're going to sell, which we're about to all hear again from our New York Times bestseller, Brenda Drake.
1. Hello, everyone. We just got finished discussing about the numbers that we would need to attain to become either a USA Today bestselling author or a New York Times bestselling author. And I am fortunate enough to know someone who's a New York Times bestselling author. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to ask her 3 questions, and that'll be just about it. So let's learn from an actual NYT bestselling author. Brenda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brenda Drake. I write young adult fantasy novels, and I also am the founder of Pitch Wars and the Twitter pitch parties on #PitMad.
By the way, I love both of them. I love PitMad. Okay, I'm sorry. I've been supposed to be professional and stay on task, so.
Okay.
Why did you start writing?
I love writing. I think most writers have that storyteller in them, that they want to tell stories. My grandmother was an Irish woman who loved telling Irish tales, telling all these tales, and she used to be really funny and tell all these tales to us when we were kids. So I just started wanting to write stories, but then I had, you know, school and my family, and I stopped doing it. And when I stayed home for with the kids, I decided to take it up as a hobby, and then I just fell in love again. So
how did you get published?
Well, so my journey was kind of up and down and kind of crazy. I did query for a long time, and I had, like, I would say 200 rejections after querying a few manuscripts. I was running contests for writers, and they were getting, it was for them to get agents and publishing deals. So I was watching them get their agents and the publishing deals. And I got an agent, and then I got my publishing deal, but then the agent was bad and the publishing deal was bad. So I fired my agent, and I got a new agent who was wonderful. And I've been with him since 2013, but he got me out of the bad publishing deal. He got me a better publishing deal. And then I published my Library Jumper series and my Touching Fate series with Entangled team. So.
Oh, you published with Entangled.
Yes.
Oh, nice over there. I'm sorry. Not professional. No, I met a few of their editors. They are, oh my God.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Back on track. Question 3. Mm-hmm. When your book became a bestseller, how did you feel?
I was really shocked. I was like stared at the thing for, actually, nobody contacted me. One of the other authors that made the list texted me and said, congratulations. I was like, what? Mm-hmm. But then I was like, you know, once everything, you know, calmed down, I was excited. And then you kind of feel like not worthy. So then it had to sit in, but it was quite exciting. You know, you don't expect to get that. So.
I know this is not our things to ask, but I just wanted to know, do you have any advice on how to get there to NYT bestseller? Besides getting an agent and publisher?
You know, it was easier when I made the New York Times. It's now it's harder now, more so because they have limited categories and stuff like that. But I mean, to get there, it's perseverance. It's working hard, keeping your dream in sight, and getting that publishing deal. And then it's all fate after that. You know what I mean? It's just, you have to have the right publisher. They have to believe in your book, and then they have to put your book in the right shops that are going to register with New York Times. So the New York Times knows that how many books you've sold and stuff like that. So it's all about that kind of timing thing. It's a very calculated thing that publishers do too. So it's just work hard, write a good book, put it out there, and then pray, basically.
All right. So now we heard from the New York Times bestseller.
There's no way to learn how to do what you want to do, but by asking someone who's already done it.
Right.
That's no better way.
Is the way. All right. So for the USA bestseller list, you have to sell at least 6,000 sales in 1 week. Again, it can be depending on what you're doing. And if it's a new release, pre-order sales are included.
Only US sales count. We are big, our audience is big in the UK, so we never try for this. We have a decent audience in the US, but our UK audience is much better. So the author doesn't have to live here, but the books have to sell here. And the book needs to be purchased in the at US retailers. I'm sorry, I can't even read my own slide now. At least 500 books have to be sold by retailers other than Amazon. And that is a big thing for those who are self-published. One more slide on the USA Today bestselling list. This is actually how you can attain being a USA Today bestseller. So I'm going to skip the first one and come back to it in a minute. So you can do it as a solo author.
Yes. Okay.
And if you do that, you would need an email list of almost 600,000 people, because if you do a click-through rate, it'll be about 2%, and you'll get half of that 2% that will actually buy the book. And you're going to need those 30,000 sales. So you're going to need those sales from the numbers from the first slide. So in order to do that, you would need an email list of 600,000 subscribers to do it by yourself. There's an easier way to do this, which is through an anthology, where you would get about 30 co-authors and you would be the lead on a anthology. And then you'd have all those co-authors make sure they have 30,000 or above subscribers. Now I'm going back to the first one, which says email multiple times on specific days. You want to do this on a Monday because on a Tuesday, because all the pre-sales from the Monday count. So you're starting off on a Tuesday, but you have a cushion because you have the Monday pre-sales. And then you would have, that's where the email multiple times on specific days. So let's say that you were the leader of this anthology, you would then have everyone email the list on Wednesday. At that 2% click rate, you would still end up with the numbers that you would need in order to make the bestsellers list. Now I have to say, people who have made it, even in an anthology, they say this is the hardest work they have ever done in their entire lives. And if someone asked them to do it again, they probably wouldn't.
Absolutely. And we're not going to have the time we didn't put it in because we're not going to have the time. But if you check out the DC Gomez interview that we did with her, she is a USA bestseller list on the USA bestsellers. And she says those exact words. It was some of the hardest work she has ever done in her whole life.
So does Shannon and Latrivia. So like depending, if you're going to do solely paid advertising, then you would have to have a 50% conversion rate from your Facebook, Amazon, and Google ads. And you would spend about $24,000 just to get anywhere close to it.
And you can find out all of this on Forbes.
All right, let's talk about the writer's goal income. Oftentimes people think that the book equals cash. That is not always true. For us, we can only tell you about ours. So this is how we made our continuous cash. Jade, what did we do first?
Okay, so we took our And I Thought Divorce Was Bad book. Well, we changed the cover now, y'all. It's beautiful now. And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, but with other life lessons. Right. And then what was one of the first things that you think about? Like, I have a book, I should get audiobook. We should get an audiobook. We got an audiobook. Right. So we went to like ACX and we did all of that. We got an audiobook. And then we decided, we have this backlog of books. So we got several audiobooks. And we wrote several books, right? So give people more than one book to buy.
So we wrote in multiple genres. Free Falling and Loving It is romance. Widow's Web is mystery, suspense, thriller, depending on which one you pick up. Because there's lots of them. And then I wrote a sci-fi book, Fly a Ring Around. Don't read it. It's not worth it. But hey, it's there.
She wrote. All right. And then what we did was we took this book. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. Right? Because didn't we all think being grown up was easy when we were a child? We did. And then we recognized, no, it's us. And then we did something fun with it. We put it on a flask.
Now it's merchandise.
And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy merchandise. Right. So sometimes we sell more of those than we do of our books when we go to shows, right? We'll sell more of the flask or more of the shot glasses than we will of books, right? Because the people are like, this is so cool and I would love this and this is a good gag gift for my dad. And okay, all of that.
So I'm going to run quickly the literary section of it, whereas we went from the book to the audiobook, from the audiobook to the literary magazine, from the literary magazine to the CD. It's okay. It's on Amazon. And then we did a podcast. And then lastly, we ended up with speaking gigs. Jade is going to show you what that looks like.
Okay, so
from the book to the literary magazine.
The And I Thought literary magazine.
Yeah, it's the first time we were ever on the cover.
And then we did, because, Wilnona, you want to tell your little short, funny story? We have a few minutes for you to tell it.
So my short story was I was sitting in a car one day and I said, I'm cute. And I was like, I need to be on somebody's 25 hottest authors list. I found out there was no 25 hottest authors list. So you know what we did?
We created it. The 25 hottest indie authors, artists, and advocate magazine.
198 pages, sold in 4 continents. We sell about 2,903 in the first week.
Right.
Now we moved on and we did more merchandise. And one of the reasons I said, when you do your contract, make sure that you see where the rights belong to. Because if we signed right now today and I don't make sure, then a publisher could claim rights to some of the merchandise that we already have.
That we worked hard on.
Yeah. So we're very specific about the contracts that we sign and the lettering that it has. Hence why I said keep your website, because you can use that leverage to get rid of them taking any merchandising things that they want.
Right. Please get a website, y'all. If you take nothing out from here, please get a website.
So we turn that into actual merchandise like notebooks and that jewelry box you see down there. We turned our books also into a board game, wine, and I think lastly over here is something like a show or something.
And then we did
a fashion line. Yes,
right.
We have an entire clothing line.
Yeah, so you can see the shoes here.
There you go. And that came from here you go.
The book. Right? So I did the cover of the book, and then I took the cover of the book and turned it into merchandise, shoes, and things
dresses
like that.
And
dresses
coats,
and things like that.
Swimwear, you name it.
Now, wait a second. I have to say one thing, Wilnona, before you move on. The reason that we did this was because Wilnona and I love to take walks, right? Like we love walking. And so when I did that, I said, well, why should I always be wearing someone else's brand? Now, it's important when I say this, y'all wear other people's brands. Like this is how these people make money. Please support small businesses, all of that. But also support yourself, right? Why not put your book cover on a sweatshirt? And just if you are a person that takes walks, wear it on your walk. Why not? Promote yourself. It's one of the easiest ways if someone goes, oh my goodness, I love that sweatshirt. Where can I have one? Then
your author website.
Your author website comes right back. Yes, you could get it from blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna just say my website, right? You can get it from andithoughladies.com. Go ahead on over there. You can just get it. Yeah, I'm the author, whatever. And go on. I cannot tell you how many times I have sold things from airports just by walking with my own stuff.
We also have our own luggage, so we carry our own luggage on the plane.
Right.
But so the thing is that one of the other reasons that we did this is because you cannot solely depend on your book income.
We write poetry, y'all.
Even if you're traditionally a bestseller, you will be a bestseller for a extended amount of time, but you can keep different income streams to keep giving you money over time. Let's talk about the thing that we really want to talk about that's kind of fun and I love, book to movie. So you have hit the bestseller list, and let me tell you, this is going to be harder than hard, believe me. This is harder than hitting the bestseller list. Oh, I forgot to mention the Amazon bestseller list. Let me go back and just put this in as a side note. So if you want to hit the Amazon bestseller list, you have as many friends, family, and everyone you can buy it in the same 15 minutes. So let's say from 12 to 12:15, you have 40 people buy your book. You will hit the Amazon bestseller list somewhere in the first 20 in your category. Now at 1 o'clock, you'll be gone.
But you can hit it.
At 12,
get that screenshot, y'all. Get it.
2 o'clock you'll be gone. I'm sorry, it's at 2 because at 1 o'clock you'll be on, and at 2 you'll be gone. But you hit the bestseller.
Oh, wow, we do have some questions in here, and
so I'm gonna run through the book to movie, and then
we're gonna answer questions, y'all.
All right, so here's the book to movie thing that most people want to know because they're like, oh, movies and cash. First of all, if you're gonna do a actual adaptation of your script, I'm gonna go through this really fast. You have to find your act points. So there's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Sometimes there's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4. Don't try to write your whole book as a script. That does not work.
It doesn't, y'all. We tried it.
No, we did.
We did.
So you have to figure out what you want.
Maybe it works for you, though. I don't know.
30 minutes, you have 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes for a sitcom, 60 minutes for a television show, 90 pages for a 8 hour and a half movie. So you cannot write all 400 pages into those 90. So don't try this. So don't try that. You want to pick your 4 points that your book moves on. It must be hinged. If those don't happen, the stories don't move. Those 4 points become the 4 points of your new outline. You're going to do the same thing you would do for a book outline. You're going to find the plot points that move the story forward. I do not mean that one day there was a piece of gum on your tire, unless one day there was a piece of gum on your tire and then the tire blew out and then they met the love of their life. Okay, that's a plot point. But if there was just gum on the tire and it was something cutesy and funny, no, scratch it. It doesn't go in the movie.
So basically,
you're stripping your story down.
It really hurts. Yeah. You know, like you spend all this love and care, and you've got the line editors, development editors, that everybody, you got everything set up, and you did this book, and it was glorious. And now to write your script, you're taking out all the glorious.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're just taking it right on out, and you're getting the bare bones of the story.
Because we're going to build from here.
We're going to build from here because it's really what's in the camera. And y'all, yes, it hurts. So sometimes you might just want to hire a person to do that to your book because it really hurts to do.
So all those beautiful descriptions,
they're gone.
Most of them are gone, but they can come back in shorter versions and like notes to the director or stage directions or things like that, just to set up a scene. They can happen. Now, formatting scripts, study it hard. I studied it, and then I hired someone to help me make sure it was always formatted correctly.
Absolutely.
Because my script actually we did something with it. And then remember how to pace the script. So like with a book, you're like, oh, page 45. Page 45 better not be the first thing that happens, because that's half your movie. No one's buying that. Make sure you learn how to pace the script and how it's gonna go. All right, we're moving quicker.
Okay.
So if you are doing book to movie, and I'm sure all of you who are really invested in this probably know about this already. One of the places where you can get resources, Stage 32 and Roadmap Writers. Right now, Roadmap Writers has a free webinar talking about how to hit the big guys like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, HBO, and production companies.
But they also have really great, Stage 32 and Roadmap Writers have really great webinars where they teach you how to write a good script, what to do. Like they're really great resource. So you're really serious about it and you want to do it yourself, you might want to use this resource. And yes, you have to pay for it, but it might be better to you.
Roadmap has a lot of free things that you don't have to pay for. Stage 32 has occasional free things. We like Stage 32 and Roadmap Writers a lot right now. So also, if you're going to actually take this seriously and learn how to do an elevator pitch, I'm not going through the aspects of an elevator pitch today. I'm just not.
We want to get your questions in.
Yeah,
we want to hear this along.
So, but once you learn how to do your elevator pitch, Stage 32 and Roadmap Writers both have an area where you can practice it's not even like practice, where you can actually meet a producer from a production company. When you go there, make sure it is the producer of the production company or the executive and not the executive assistant. So you will have to do your research.
Right. So,
and then they do this for about $35 a pitch, and you get 5 minutes with Stage 32, 8 minutes with Roadmap Writers, and you can do like first page coverage and all that stuff there. Huge for us right now. And this is how we moved forward in us wanting to make our book into a movie.
Proof of concept.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's expensive.
It's huge though.
Which means like proof of concept can either be you actually did a short film, or you actually shot the pilot episode, or Hollywood is taking this, but mostly from producers who have a track record, but sometimes they're just taking it. It's podcast to movie.
Right. But again, let me emphasize, this is why the website is so important. Because if you did a podcast, right, you were like, I'm going to get actors, we're going to do a table read of the script, we're going to really do this proof of concept. You need a website where people can go, right? And then they can go on over to your podcast. But you can combine those numbers to tell people like, hey, on my website daily, I get 500,000 people come to my website daily, and then like 500,000 people listen to the podcast. So literally you have 1 million people.
And then you can combine those and put them into your next pitch when you pitch.
Because now you're like, hey, I'm not a nobody from nowhere. People know me. They know my name. They like me. They like my stuff. Now they have like audience built in. This is important though.
And then we move to our last point on this, which is networking is really important.
Yes.
If you thought it was important in the book world, this is what if one of our producer friends say, she's a great producer. She was like, Hollywood is people doing business with people that they know, or people that they know. So if you're not in a circle where someone that you know can get you to someone that can get you to the person that can get you greenlit, then you don't want to do this by yourself, then you don't want to pay for it to get that access. You might want to start thinking about networking. So because we have a podcast and because we have all these things, we've been able to network with producers, directors, casting directors.
But not because we wanted to get our stuff made. Not because we wanted to know what they did.
Yeah, we did.
We really did. But the point is, network is key.
Very key.
It's key for writing. It's key for getting your things greenlit. It's just key, y'all.
So lastly is our little journey from the book. We have a book called The Managers, and we turned it from this book, and then we did the same steps that I just mentioned for like the script, stripping it down and then making it into dialogue. And we turned it into that. And then what you see right here is something called a pitch deck. And you're going to probably have to research this one yourself. But this is what people would look at after you've talked to them and you've done your cute little pitch on Stage 32 or Roadmap, or you've networked. And then someone goes, I'm really interested. Then you would send them a pitch deck or a show Bible. And once you do that, they can tell you about what they want. If they want your script, how much it's going to cost, all that stuff goes into the pitch deck, and they'll definitely tell you if they're interested or not. And then lastly, what we have on the end was that expensive thing that we talked about, which is proof of concept, where we have a bunch of actors, professional actors, read our script as if it were a movie.
But also we turned it into a podcast. We interview like not authors.
We interview like
actors. We interview
talent managers,
agents,
directors, everybody you saw on that list,
casting directors, all go on the Ladies Tale podcast, because this is the one where we're talking about behind the scenes of
Hollywood celebrity life. Yeah. So there you go. All right, that is our book to movie, people, and we
are done. Question.
Hi there. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Oh my gosh, I'm so jazzed. I'm gonna go ahead and read from our chat box because we do have quite a few questions. I'm gonna start just at the top here. One from Evelyn. What's the name of the best-selling author interviewed and the title of that best-selling book?
Okay, so that was Brenda Drake. Oh,
and her title is Library Jumpers.
Yeah, it is.
Got it.
Brenda Drake
she's amazing. She's
and we were just like, why do you even talk to us? It's so amazing. We like poetry.
That's a great connection to have. Okay, this one is actually from me. Which social media platform is most important for an author if we had to pick one?
The one that you are most comfortable with and you are going to engage in. And if you are calling TikTok the TikTok, that's probably not free.
Right.
All right. So the one that you will get on and talk and engage with your fans. Like if it's Instagram, just do Instagram. Like to be like pictures of my book at the beach. Yes, here's me being amazing. Here's me doing. If you are going wherever you're going to engage. If you love Facebook, do Facebook. And do it to the best of your ability.
Secondly, to add to that, if you know for certain where your readers are, you might want to consider that to be your big place that you want to be, even if you're uncomfortable with the platform.
So, like seriously, if you will YA, right? If you will YA,
don't be on. Oh my goodness.
And you like, I'm gonna be on Facebook. That's not where your people are. Go on over and learn Instagram and or TikTok, because that's where your audience is. But I mean, if you're just like, oh yeah, I just wrote this romance novel and everyone's on like Facebook that are like my fans, then great, write it up, enjoy it.
All right. Okay. So someone just commented, you guys have endless energy to do all the things you're describing. I think we all agree. How about this one? For a debut independent author, how many books sold is considered successful?
As many as you consider success. Because
is there a minimum amount that you would say?
Yeah.
I know, you guys sell thousands.
They say that, first of all, that most people will never sell over 200 books in their lifetime if you're indie. So if you sell 201, consider yourself to be like truly successful and blessed.
Right, absolutely. And let's be honest, it's hard work. Right, it's hard work, y'all. It's hard work. And it's not, because, I mean, if you think about it, right? I don't know, y'all have Piggly Wiggly down there, right? I don't know, Giants or whatever. Right, so you're not gonna go to an off-brand store that you don't know to pick up something. You're not gonna do it because you're
especially
like,
if it's perishable.
Especially if it's perishable, you're like, I don't know that. I don't know that store. I'm not going in there. So as an independent author, people are like, I don't know that author. Why should I buy this book? Why should I invest time and my money? So it's a lot of work, because if I say Coca-Cola, you either go, I love it or I hate it. You have a definite reaction to Coca-Cola. But if I'm like, oh, you know, the store brand of Coca-Cola, like you don't, what? I mean, I guess I get it, because if I'm going to a cookout and somebody asks me to buy some Coke and I don't have no money, I'm just gonna get the store brand. See, that's the point.
So if you are able to sell the store brand of Coca-Cola, like would you equate to the indie novel, and you can sell 201 of them, well, darn, that's amazing.
Do this thing, do it. And the point is, definitely have your author website, because gives you legitimacy. Like if I say I wrote a book, but you can't find me anywhere, why would I buy your book?
Right. So it's a lot of it is branding. It sounds like was what you're saying. It's a lot of branding. Everybody is commenting that you have marvelously high energy. The presentation is excellent. They're so glad it's recorded so they can see it again. There's tremendous dedication. Okay. Somebody asks from Tanya, what website host do you recommend?
Well, we do GoDaddy, but we don't recommend but we don't recommend any, right? The one that you're going to be most comfortable with. And if you are not comfortable with building a website, y'all, guess what? It's okay. It's okay. Save your money, pay somebody to do your website because it's absolutely that important.
I agree with her on this. We chose GoDaddy because we are familiar with GoDaddy.
Right. And we
also have Weebly as well. That was fun. A lot of people have, almost everybody we know has begged us to move over to WordPress.
But I'm not doing it because I tried to do it and I couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, when I move over to WordPress, I'm paying someone.
Exactly.
Because I can't do it myself. And that's okay, y'all, because, you know, in businesses are successful because sometimes they have executive assistants that answer the phone. Like the person that runs it, but they can't be answering the phone and typing the email and doing the meeting. We can't do it all, y'all. We can't. So remember that it's okay to pay people, but reputable people. Ask people for references. Like seriously, be like, hey, who did your website? Okay.
No, those are all excellent points. This one was actually from me. When you were talking about Amazon categories, because I know, you know, I'm an independently published author, you get like 3 or 4, and then they embed 2 more in the ebooks. Is there a way to expand the number of categories so that you can become a bestseller in a more narrowly defined category?
So we often choose to pick them well, and on days that we know that we're going to try to attempt to hit the bestseller list, they give you an option to choose like 1, 2, or 3. So we normally try to niche us down to like the tiniest bit that we can find,
right, and
then do that 15 minutes where we ask everyone to come on in and buy our books, and then that makes us hit number 1 in the tiniest niche. Now when you're done, you can come back out and then make yourself like just bigger, like give yourself a more expand spot category. You won't be bestseller in that category, but you would have been a bestseller.
Right. Because there are so many competitors in that same category.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So okay, I think one of our books did like the 90-minute read, and that's where we were bestsellers.
Yeah, so we originally were in poetry, anthology, women's fiction, and we had gone that way. And then we came out that day that we were going to do it. We went with down that way, but with 90-minute read, and then that
gotcha.
It's like ASAP.
Okay. Oh, that's great advice. Is there a software program you would recommend to craft a screenplay from your novel? Because I know they exist, right?
Oh, what do I use? I use Final Draft.
Final Draft.
Final Draft. Okay.
Before I used Amazon Story Writer, but that's no longer exists. So because I was actually going to be writing scripts for producers and executives and stuff, and they were going to be seeing it, I went to the industry standard of Final Draft.
Yeah, and that will cost you some money.
Oh, yeah.
Will cost you some
like $200 but I caught it on sale, and it was something like that.
Like I think we were talking about it. I was like, oh, look at this sale.
I know. I caught it on
there you
sale.
go.
Yeah, we were like, I like it. This is why being up at late helps you sometimes.
All right. Night owls. Okay. This is from Gail. There is the additional factor of the ladies, their friendship, goals, and support of each other work well. How do they balance all this with their own family and other obligations?
Not well. Well, actually, I mean, as well as you can, right? You do what you can, and then what you can't do, well, that's for tomorrow. That's just how it is.
So like, I know if I'm going to write, because when I write a novel, it doesn't only take like months or years, it takes me like weeks. So it takes me like 3 weeks normally is like the longest I'll like allow myself. So I will cook the meals that I'm going to have and go ahead and put them in the fridge and label them for each day, and the ones in the freezer.
Oh, and you extra clean the house, right?
Yep, deep scrub the house.
So it can be like 2 weeks of like, and it's still not bad when you get out of your writing.
And then like tell everyone, heads up, I'm going in. Don't bother me, and like try to take care of everything.
Don't call me, text me. I will get back to you at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm about to go to
and then I go in the Wednesday. Yeah. That's how I balance it.
But I mean, everyone has their own process, and I know a lot of authors they say like moms, especially moms, like they tell us like they get up early or they stay up late. So they're like, I either get up at like 6 in the morning and do my walk or whatever, and then wake my children and like do my hour 45 minutes of writing, and then wake my children up at 7:15, so I can get that time in for me. Or like I put my children to bed and then I put the laundry in and then I type for that 45 minutes.
The other thing that we do, we are huge multitaskers. So sometimes you will see us do a podcast in the car on our way to our next errand.
Yeah, pretty much. Hi, y'all. You're calling me between the errands.
Yeah. One time we were on tour and then we had to do something for the family as well, for my family. And so we were literally doing a podcast on tour, walking through the hotel that we were leaving to go to a TV station. So the whole time we're walking through the hotel walkway while we're picking up things that we need to mail to make sure that everybody's okay.
Well, it sounds like.
Could I have a follow-up on that?
Yes.
Just, I wonder, you said you write 45 minutes. Is that what you do every day and that's it? Or do you get on a roll and what do you do then?
It depends. Like that's not my style, but there was people that we've interviewed and that's what they said. And they were like, well, then you get on a roll, you kind of try to like, I mean, you don't have to do 45 though. I mean, you know your schedule, right? A lot of people try to do an hour, but I mean, if you only can do 45 minutes that day, don't be like, well, I can only do 45 minutes and just throw up your hands and don't do it. Like do it.
So yeah, the way that I said it first is actually how we do it. We pretty much clear our schedule and then we just this is our time. Other people do the 45 minutes. Right. I don't know what they
or
do.
An hour, right? They do that. So if you're on a roll, I mean, if you have the extra time, why not finish the roll? But if you don't, well, maybe try to write it down, talking to your phone, try to talk out record the roll at least, and so you can be able to pick back up where you were. Well, those are my suggestions. They're not tried and true. I'm just saying suggestions.
Okay, so we have what program do you recommend for drafting a complete book manuscript?
Oh, wow.
Whatever our editor says.
That one came from Connie, I think. Yeah.
Whatever
it's so funny because I was dreading that. I was like, please don't let anyone ask that question. I'm gonna be honest. I still use Word.
Right.
And then I format it back down. Sometimes I have to move the script over. I have to move the manuscript over to Canva to format it correctly and then bring it down as a PDF and then download it as a PDF.
Or what our editor sends it back to us as. Because sometimes editors will do some, we have a formatting editor. She edits and formats. So yay for us. But
but when we first started off, it was Microsoft Word or Canva or something like that, and then now we just kind of email it over when it gives us so much trouble.
She sends it back and we pay her.
Yes, it's so fun
because sometimes you can't do it all by yourself.
Thank you. All right. I don't see anything else in the. Okay, wait. Here is another question in the chat box. What's the best way to? Oops, it's an incomplete question. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open it up to those folks who are on the call. Just if you want to ask a question, just raise your hand and then unmute yourself.
No one ever asks us questions. So
they're like questions.
Anyone else?
Cricket. I have a question.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you like the presentation?
No, for real, feedback is great.
Feedback is terrific to have. And did you even like the book to movie part?
And also the interviews. Like we took a gamble on the interviews and putting them in there. So what did y'all think? Unmute, please, and tell us seriously.
Unmute.
Perfect.
I was just going to say it was the best I have ever seen. You ladies are awesome. And excellent. I've seen a lot. We've been together for a while and I love all your interviews and it is great. Absolutely great.
All right. Definitely. All right. So the gamble worked out. The gamble worked out with us putting our putting those interviews. So we re-interviewed them. So that gamble worked out then, y'all? Y'all liked it?
Yes.
It was great. Excellent. It was perfect.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Could you give the name of that author again with that wonderful interview?
Brenda Drake.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, R-E-N-D-A, Brenda. Okay.
Brenda,
and then
D-R-A-K-E, Drake.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You guys
You're welcome.
If you like this, you can go over to our YouTube page. I think I should probably put it in the chat. We skipped one of the interviews on purpose because we weren't sure we would have enough time, but it's an interview about how to get your own audiobook done.
But we do have time, so we might be able to like go on over there and interact. If y'all want to hear that.
Question about book to movie.
Let y'all listen.
Yeah, you want to hear it? Y'all want to hear it? Okay.
All right.
We'll go on over and get it because we weren't sure. We were like, people might have a lot of questions and we don't want to cut down on their time to ask all the questions that they want to.
I have a question about book to movie.
Yes.
When you're writing a book, a lot of the words you use are descriptions, and on a movie scene, you see that in about 10 seconds.
Right.
So how does this impact your script? Do you put that in the script, or is that the set designer's job?
That's set designer's job.
We're supposed to have a director come in, but like I was just going to quickly explain. So that's one of the big things is all of a sudden you no longer have the ability to write this long description. And we are friends with a few directors, and they really enjoy understanding the scene and putting it in their own mind. So it depends on the director you work with. If you're doing a shooting script, some of them actually do want all that direction and some of them don't. And then on the other hand, when you're doing a script for a spec script to sell, then you would want to find yourself a nice little medium in between.
Yeah, but you do need to put in you do need to put in anything that is very specific to your story. Like something like an object on the wall that's going to figure in later. That has to be there.
Yeah,
that would be
professional. Like if it was like, oh, this picture is actually the thing, like you have to, that moves your script forward. Yeah, you have to put that in.
Yeah. So if it moves your script forward, definitely always put that in.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any more questions?
Anything on pitch decks or show Bibles or anything like that?
I saw a hand.
No, just
I like
sad was that a hand on purpose or you just
no. My question is, whatever you were talking today, and
sorry, we couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Okay.
Say it again.
I said whatever you were talking and posting on the screen, is it possible to get it in writing? Because some of those things that I was writing, I missed it.
Absolutely. Give us one second.
Which one did you want? Which one?
Well, the whole presentation. I mean, there was a lot of places that I was writing. Well, you just go down in a line by line anyway. So it's literally
Sadrul.
a lot of things.
Sadrul.
Yes.
I screenshot all of it.
Oh, okay. Then that's good. That's good for me.
I just want to let them know that I did that for me, but is it all right?
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Gail. You are
because
awesome.
I was trying to write, but I'm not fast enough to write, and listening and writing 2 things at a time, it was a little bit too much for me. So I was trying. So that's what I thought, that if I can get it, whatever you were posting here, then I can go back and understand the whole thing. Is it possible?
Yes. I think they also recorded the meeting.
It's also being recorded. So
okay.
I think
the meeting is recorded.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And I think Beverly has a question.
Oh, yes. Hi, Beverly.
Hello, ladies. How are you?
Oh.
Hi, we're fine.
I'm echoing.
Whoa. Are there any more questions?
I turned the volume down. Let's try it again.
Okay. How about now? Good?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Here's my question. I need someone to handle me. I am so busy writing. I'm writing a 10-book series right now. I have a picture book in illustrating right now, and I'm juggling a full-time job, a part-time job, and this. And so I'm sort of like you, only it's me. And so I want to, what do you suggest? I mean, is it a publicist I need? Is it a marketing person?
So you're juggling to promote your book or writing your book or both of them?
All of them.
So all of them.
If you haven't written it yet, I would spend all my time on writing it and then start on the marketing. But if you can have written it,
you can hire a marketer.
Well, I already wrote a book and put it on Amazon. So I got a first copy just because I have not published it yet. But the first copy is ready. It's a biography of 180,000 word and 415 pages. So eventually I'm going to look for how to do the marketing, but I'm not. I mean, everything I did myself. I did all the cover, back cover, everything, and all those things. So eventually I'm going to look for marketing, how to do that.
Okay. Beverly, to your question, if you are trying to market your book, but you know it's going to come out soon, now is probably the time to talk to a marketer or to develop your marketing plan. Because
well, that's when I don't have right now any marketing plan yet, because that's what my point is to
if nobody knows you as a writer, the point is to like make some noise so people will know who you are, right? So when your book drops, people will kind of be like, oh, I've seen that advertisement in the newspaper, or I've seen that on the billboard, or I've got a mailer about it, or I've listened to a podcast and this person been talking about writing, like, so they can know, like, have a little bit of a record, like, in the back of your head. Like, you don't just buy, you're not going to go into the store and just like spend money on Under Armour if you didn't know who Under Armour was.
So
you're
right
not gonna,
now,
so right now,
to do the schedule that you would like to do, that you would want to go ahead and try to split your time up. What little time you have, you'd probably want to schedule it and try to divide it evenly between writing, marketing, and then going out to find PR and writing with pitches. So if I were you, I would put it on each one on a day.
Or hire someone to do that.
You could also hire someone to do it, but if you want to keep doing it by yourself, I would definitely say schedule it out.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I have another question about marketing.
This is Beverly again.
Have you considered,
thank you for your answer.
Do you have any pointers on how to market to people on public transit? Was there a time
on public transit? Well, number one, read your own book on public transit.
Sorry.
Yes.
My new book series is Diary of a Creative Writer series. It has 10 books.
Wow.
It's for children. It's a 30-day journal that they write in, and there's also a teacher's edition. I do all my book designing and put everything together and then upload it onto Amazon. So I'm looking at different ways to, I mean, should it go to the governor for their book program? There's a Just Read Florida, but I almost hate to blow the whistle on it, because what if somebody else ran with it?
So do you have the book? Is it done, one of the book of the series?
It's called Diary of a Creative Writer series. Book 1 is already up on Amazon. It's called Set Great Writing Goals.
Okay.
And there's a teacher edition to go with it. I think this could be the coolest thing ever for kids. It's in my Adopt a Book program that I'm issuing to the schools, but I need that key person. I need, I don't know that I can go unsolicited to a principal, or, get a whole list of email addresses and just blast them out, because then that's unsolicited.
So first of all, you have a writing, you have an arts board in your city, correct?
We have a what?
You have an arts board, someplace that might pick the poet laureate or something like that. Or if you see art done in a public place in your city, yes? Do you have one of those?
I haven't researched that.
Okay, so that's what you want to do. First of all, you want to go find out who is on your arts board in your city, your county, and your state. And then when you finish doing that, you're going to want to go to either the program outreach coordinator, or secondly, you're going to want to go to the person who's in charge of literary in general. And that person will be able to get you into the county, state, or citywide level.
Thank you so much. That is so awesome. I was going to send it to the governor. What do you think?
I mean, you can. I mean,
definitely take
a gamble if you want to. But also do the art boards too, right? Because there's nothing like somebody telling, like recommending you. There's nothing like someone recommending you, right?
Can I jump into
yes,
to just say that
that's a great idea.
In every government office, you have different departments. So Beverly, you might want to look at who would be handling maybe cultural affairs or education, things like that. So, you know, not directly to the governor, but, you know, who's in there, because it'll get lost in the shuffle, I would imagine. I mean, any governor of any state. You know, you need people under.
Thank you, Connie. Yeah, I have a great proposal written. So I think that if I can find the right person, it'll be
exactly.
Yep. Exactly. Definitely. And you definitely want to, y'all, like, seriously, reach out to your art councils and stuff, because that's kind of like their job. That's what they're here for.
Their job is fun. It's been kind of fun because reaching out to different art councils, that's how we got invited to stuff in South Dakota. Actually.
Yeah.
People like, how are you in South Dakota?
And I was like, art council.
We reached out to the South Dakota Art Council and they were like, okay. And then they called us back to see, you know, what we wanted to do. And I was like, okay, I'll go. It's a great way to do that. And that way, when you do that, you are available for more things. And as Karen, what was your name again?
I'm sorry.
I said that'll probably be easier for the governor to even notice it
right.
You're around.
And that helps you get more visibility also.
Great way to sell books.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. You have no idea. And I hope we stay in touch for long time.
Absolutely. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughtLadies.com.
Thank you. While you're there, also
fill out the contact us.
Yeah, for our website, fill out the contact us form. For your question, when you're reaching out to the literary art boards, you might want to consider also that Miami has a festival, the Miami Book Festival. You can reach out. You can see if you can get in contact with those people too. They're fun.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a booth already in Writers Row.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Come visit me.
Oh, we will.
We would.
In 2022.
We wish.
All right.
We aren't leaving our house till 2022.
Well, you know, probably before. But like right now.
To go on tour? Maybe.
We'll see. So, any more questions, comments? I'm going to try
Thank
to get
you very much. It was really very informative. I really enjoyed listening to you guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Really entertaining. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, ladies. I'm going to turn it back over to Ricky Dorn. You're muted. You're muted, Ricky.
You need to unmute, Ricky.
I usually announce the contest, but I believe Donna's not here.
Is he?
So what we'll do, and we don't have a plaque handy, but we'll see that you get it, not to worry.
Dawn, are you on?
We're going to take a short break, and the board meeting will begin at 12:30. So if you want to take a short break to walk around, we can do that. All right, 12:30 board meeting. Oh, okay, hold on, he is here. All right. Okay, Don is here, so we will ask him to announce the winners, please.
These are the winners of the August contest?
Yes, the monthly contest. If Don is here, would he please announce the winners?
Yes, just a minute. For the August contest, which was regarding the end of something. First place winner is Madeline Goldman for her story, Private Lives. And the second place winner is Henry Parnes for Departure, both in the category of short story.
Give them a break. We'll start at 12:30.
And the third place winner is Patrick Ward. Actually, that's first place winner. His was a memoir. So for Patrick Ward, his was The Battle of Worthy.
Yay, Pat. Oh, my mercy. Awesome, wonderful. Okay.
Second prize winner for memoir